Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final Tees Valley Trailblazers webinar. I hope you found the previous sessions useful and have some ideas as to what business you might like to run in your school. I know some of you have already met your business ambassadors, and they are really excited to be working with you all. This afternoon, I am joined by Joanna Wake, Director of Innovation at Baltic Apprenticeships. Baltic Apprenticeships deliver programs showcasing the different jobs that are available in the digital sector and help to ensure that people of all ages recognise and have the skills needed to work in this area. Joanna is going to talk to you this afternoon about pitching your business idea and how important it is to make a good impression. So listen carefully to what Joanna has to say, as some of you will be doing this in a couple of months' time to a panel of judges, just like Dragon's Den. So don't forget to type any questions you might have in the chat facility, and as Joanna is talking, and I will ask as many as I can at the end. So without further ado, over to you, Joanna.
Thank you. I'm just going to start sharing my screen. And you should all be able to see it now. So I'm Joanna Wake, as Claire said, and I'm from a company called Baltic Apprenticeships, and my talk is for you guys to learn how to pitch your brilliant ideas. A little bit about me. So my role as Director of Innovation means that I've really spend my time trying to find different ways to do things and to try and find new solutions to existing problems. You'll come across innovation every day in your normal lives and in terms of products and things that you see. And some of you might have actually innovated yourself in what you've created and what you've came up with for this competition. Baltic Apprenticeships, we're an apprenticeship provider, which is a route into a career, which is something slightly different from college or university. And we cover aspects and routes careers for things like software, for data, digital marketing and IT. So in our region, it could be things like working for a games design company or working for a computer company, for example. So less about me and more about pitching your idea. In terms of pitching, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be telling the judges your story, what it is that you've came up with and why you've chose it, and really letting them into the decisions that you've made and how you see the future of your idea. In real life, businesses deliver pitches, and some businesses can grow very, very fast because of delivering a pitch. These pitches are sometimes only 5 minutes long, like what yours will be, and sometimes they're slightly longer. I'm going to take you through the key aspects that you need to consider for your pitch. There's 4 key steps to delivering a good pitch, and there's 4 aspects that you want to be able to cover. You might be delivering your pitch with a set of slides just like this. And so if you pay attention throughout this presentation to my slides, that might give you a good idea of the kind of style that you might take. When you're going to be talking to the judges, they will be really keen to hear what you're saying, and they'll be very happy to hear everything that you've got to say. Sometimes with presentations and slides like this, sometimes we can be tempted to put on a lot of information on those slides, and everything that we're wanting to be saying verbally, we're also including in words on the slides. But my recommendation to you would be to concentrate on just key points on your slides and rehearse what you're going to be able to say. And that will make sure you'll be able to talk properly to the judges and expand on anything that you're saying. So the 4 key steps are your idea, marketing, money, and the ask. I'm going to take you through each of these sections now, but in terms of your teams, you might be able to already start thinking about how you might separate up these different areas to speak about within your teams. So step 1, your idea. And this is about what is your product, what is the idea that you have came up with, what is it that you're selling. So for example, I might say our idea as a school is to sell cakes. And why did you choose this? So when you're talking about your idea, you really want to be able to tell the judges why. And you've probably got a story behind it, and there'll be reasons why you've chose it. And all of this is really, really information for the judges to hear. So if I was using a cake analogy and I'd chosen a cake, I might say, well, my product is a cake, and actually we've chosen vegan cakes because one of our friends in the group has got food intolerances, and we've got a drive towards eating less meat and less dairy products in the school, for example. And in terms of the benefits, if you have got some benefits to your product, if you can elaborate on those as well. And these are all the things that you'll be able to speak about enthusiastically and happily, because they're decisions that you've already made as a school and as a team. So if there are benefits to it, so for example, if I was talking about vegan cakes that I'd created, I might say, well, you know, they're very healthy for people really enjoy them, it's better for the environment. So hopefully that's given you some ideas of the kind of angles that you might be able to take when you're talking about your product. So step one is speaking about what your idea is and really why you chose it. The next step that you need to get across is your marketing. So marketing is how we let people know about what we do. So if you think about yourselves, if there's certain brands that you like, whether that's clothing brands or whether that's a certain food brand, marketing is the method that has allowed you to know about it. So whether you've seen it on adverts or in TV, or you've heard about it, or you've seen it on social media or TikTok, all of this is marketing. It's how we let people know what we've got to sell. And for this, you want to be letting the judges know, well, where your customers are coming from and how they find out about it or what you're selling, and how often they might buy your product. So you might have customers which are parents from fellow pupils at the school, and they might find out about it through your school newsletter, for example. You might be doing some leaflets in your local area or on your local shop windows, or it might be getting shared through the school's social media accounts as well. And how often they might buy your product. So let's use the cake analogy again. I might say, well, we're selling vegan cakes and we're selling it to parents of the school and also anyone else that's in the local community. And they're finding out about it on our school newsletters and on some leaflets that we're leaving around the area. And we are selling it once a month. We're doing a big batch cook once a month, which people can order from us, and we'll have it ready for that one day per month. On top of that, we're also going to be selling it at school fairs and events that we have in the school. We're going to be selling the cakes. So that's a straightforward example of your marketing, of how people are going to find out what you do and what you're selling and how they have found out about it so far and what your plans are moving forward for that as well. So let's go on to money. So on the money side of things, sometimes with real life pitching for big businesses, this can be quite a heavy section, and businesses need to prove that they are profitable, that they're making profit, and that they're planning to make a certain amount of profit moving forward. Now, with the judges that you're going to be speaking to, they're going to want to see that what you're delivering isn't operating at a huge loss. So it's not actually costing you more to make it than what you're getting from selling it. That's not going to be, the biggest driver. The person earning the most kind of money is going to necessarily win. It's just that they want to see an overview of what it is that you're doing, because you might have something that's actually very special for the environment, or that it's got a really excellent result or cause. So these things are all just as important in terms of what you're going to be telling them. So in the terms of money, you want to be speaking about how much you're selling it for, how much it costs you to make, and what your profit is, as well as what you see the sales plans being moving forward. So I'll go back to my vegan cake. I might say, well, my vegan cakes are selling for £1 each. And by the time we've got the flour and the ingredients and the eggs and everything to make it, it's costing us about 50 pence per cake to make. So my profit is 50 pence per cake. And our sales plans are that we are going to be selling them once a month to parents to collect from the school and at our school fairs. And we're aiming to sell 50 cakes every month. So every month we're going to make 50 pence per cake times 50. So we keep it really quite straightforward here. And you don't need to be having loads of big graphs or charts or anything like that. It's just understanding what you're selling and how much it's making in terms of the cost versus the sales price. And that in the middle is your profit, as I'm sure you'll know from your recent finance talk that you received as well. But this section, you're giving the judges a snapshot of the fact that your idea is viable. So the ask, so this is the fourth section. This is what you're going to be asking of the judges. And obviously we know that there's a series of prizes that are available with a monetary prize attached to it. So in the ask, you want to be given a slight recap. So you might run over what you've done to say, okay, so we've got the cakes. This is how we're marketing them. This is our financial and sales and money aspect. And we're asking you to choose us for the investment because we believe we are. And this is the section where you'll be able to say why you think that your idea should be chosen. So all of those great benefits, everything that's made you passionate about choosing that idea and why really you think your idea is either the best or the most different or the most exciting. You really want to be bringing all of your kind of passions together when you're speaking in this section, and really speaking enthusiastically as well. My recommendations in terms of pitching, and I've did a lot of support with pitching over the years because I ran a business for 10 years and worked with some big organizations for people that were pitching new ideas to do with technology and apps and things like that, and help them to create their pitches. And really the important thing is to practice it, to practice and practice and practice it. And this is just like when you're doing a school play and you've got some lines that you need to learn. You'll all know that feeling of when you're jumping on the stage and you're going to say your lines, and it's very nervous sometimes when there's people there, but usually if you've practiced them a lot of times, you feel more confident when you're going to be speaking about it. If you've got the 4 sections covered there, so your product, marketing, money, and the ask, and you have 4 people in the team, for example, you could take a section each, and each of you have that one aspect where you're covering that, and that keeps things pretty straightforward for what you need to be learning in your presentation. So practice, 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 practice together a good few times and make sure that you know what you're talking about. And if you need to have slides as well, you can have slides, and you might even have an image on there that might prompt you in what you're going to be saying. And remember, the key aspects of delivering a pitch is to stay relaxed and to talk slowly. The judges that are there are really, really wanting to hear from you. And this is pretty much like, you know, if you think about the X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, on all of these programs, the judges that are sat there are really, really willing and wanting the person on the stage to do well. And the judges that you're going to be sat in front of are very friendly people that are very happy to be being there. And they really just want to hear all about your story and all about your journey that you've been on with it. And they want you to do well. So don't be too nervous. Be passionate. Passion comes from believing in what it is that you're doing. And I've no doubt that the ideas that you've chosen, that you're all very passionate about it. And that is just as important as anything to do with the money side of things. And this is even the case for things like Dragon's Den. So, you know, real life big pictures with businesses, the judges that are there are really wanting to work with someone and to award someone prizes and money when they're very passionate about what they're doing, they're very excited. Believing in your product that helps with the fact that you've chosen it yourself. So you're not selling something that someone else has gave to you, or you're not talking about something that someone else has gave to you. It's something that you came up with yourselves. And there might have been things that have gone wrong with it, or you might have slightly changed your route with it, or added things on, or taken things away. And that's great. That's all part of your story. And be confident. You've been on a really exciting journey, and your journey is continuing now, and been working in entrepreneurial space is really, really great. And so be confident, be passionate, stay relaxed, and talk slowly, and just believe in your product. Okay, so that's everything from me, and I hope you've taken some key pointers from that in terms of how you can put your presentation together and what key things to be thinking about and to cover.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Joanna. Some really great but dead simple stuff that sometimes you just forget about. So we do have some questions. I just wondered if you wanted to sort of unshare the screen, and then we can ask you some really really interesting questions. So, okay, let's start from the beginning. What happens if you can't answer a question?
The best thing to do when you can't answer a question is to say, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for that, but I can get it to you, is a really good response, because it might be something that they're asking you that you don't know yet, but that you could find out and get back to them. That might be something to do with the ingredients in one of the things that you're doing. If they ask you something where you do know the answer to it, or you think you know it, but you're just feeling a little bit too nervous on the spot, the best thing to do there is to say, can you just give me one moment? And the judge would be more than happy to do that. In those times in your head, when you go quiet and they go quiet, you'll think like every second feels like a minute, but don't worry, it's not an uncomfortable silence, and nobody feels uncomfortable. So you can turn around if you want to. You can kind of, have a little thinking moment until you've got the answer to kind of come up with.
And I suppose there might be somebody else in the team that actually might be able to answer that question. So, if you can't answer it, then take time out and like you say, just say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's very unlikely
that.
Yeah, they do. They totally do. I've done it plenty of times. And it's very unlikely that the judge is going to ask anything overly complex. It's going to be fairly straightforward and things that in the main you would know. Yeah.
And you touched on this, but we've got a question about how do you stop being nervous?
Well, I think confidence comes from knowing the information, and I deliver a lot of talks sometimes on big stages with a lot of people there, and the one thing that helped me massively over time was to be rehearsing what I was saying. So less is sometimes more with these things. Don't feel like you need to say a lot of things. On those sections that I went through, as you'll have seen with the example that I gave, it was quite a short amount of things that I said regarding my pretend product, my vegan cakes. But I have practiced what I've said and the flow of it a lot with regards to talks. So I've practiced in front of a mirror, and I've practiced when I've been driving, and practiced when I've been walking down the street. And that, I think, really, really helps with your nerves, because you've got a certain number of things to say and you've really, really rehearsed it well. And another thing with the nerves is just please bear in mind that these judges are so happy to be there. They're not looking for you to trip up or make a mistake at all. So understand that they're very friendly. It's not like a cartoon kind of character baddie or anything.
And I suppose not running in at the last minute. That's, making sure that you give yourself the time as well. It's all part of the preparation, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And speaking slowly.
Yeah, exactly. And a little bit of nerves is quite good, because it keeps you on your toes a little bit, doesn't it?
Excitement can feel very similar to nerves.
Yeah, exactly. So what if you don't sell as much as you planned to sell?
If you didn't sell as much as you planned to sell, the best thing to do with that is honesty. Your honest story is really so important, and more important than than any of the other kind of financial aspects of it. So if you didn't sell as many as what you planned to sell, but you know that there's a reason for that, or you think it might be one of a few reasons, you can say that and say, look, we planned to sell 50, but we only sold 10 of them. We were really disappointed that we only sold 10, but we knew that was because we wanted to sell them in a face-to-face environment and COVID didn't allow us to. Or we hadn't done the marketing right in terms of us letting enough people know about what we were selling. But to alleviate that, or to change that, or to make that different, our plan is to do this instead. And so you might be also selling something quite niche where actually there's never going to be phenomenally sized sales and huge size sales, but actually what you're selling is really, really cool and really quirky, and the judges would probably love that just as much. It's not about the volume.
Yeah. So what happens if you make a real mess of your numbers when you're presenting? And we see this all the time on Dragon's Den. People just don't know the numbers.
We absolutely do. Knowing your numbers is really such an important part of presentations and running a business. But the best thing you can do with regards to knowing your numbers is the slides that I sent through there, which I'm happy to send on to be sent around the schools if that's helpful to you all. On the money section, there was just a few key points. All you need to do is just stick to those points. So what you want to be working out, and you might need your teachers to be helping with this as well, is how many have we sold? How much does it cost us to make it? And what our plans are to sell moving forward, and how many of it is. You literally just need to keep those 3 numbers. If for whatever reason you completely, lose your numbers on the day, you could always have on your slide, if you've got a slide, you could just have the 3 numbers written down. So that's a prompt for you to be able to say it. You could write the numbers on the back of your hand as well if you want to. Old school.
Yeah, good tip there. Right, so you did mention this before, but the question came in earlier. Should one person do all of the delivery, or do you suggest splitting it between the team?
Totally suggest splitting it. So the 4 key sections that I recommend to go through, you can split that between 4 people, if there's 4 people. Or if you've got 8 people, you might have 2 people that do the marketing part, 2 people that do the product part, and that's probably the best way to do it. But if you have some people in your team that have actually played a really important part of your team and your group, but they're very, very, very nervous and they really don't want to do it, it's absolutely fine for one person to be covering 2 sections or more sections. So don't worry about that. What we wouldn't want is somebody that's feeling very nervous to feel like they have to deliver a section. Your part in this has been important, whether you actually present or don't present.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like picking a football team, isn't it? You know who's going to be the strikers, you know who's going to be the goalkeeper. So it's just the different strengths within the team, isn't it?
And you might have different people that have had different, levels of involvement. So you might have some people that have actually been more involved on the ordering side of the ingredients and the money, and someone that's been more involved in the designing of the leaflets and stuff. So you can pick an aspect of the delivery that suits you.
Yeah, so we've mentioned this a couple of times, but do you think it's worth watching something like Dragon's Den or something similar to sort of see where things go horribly wrong? And
well, you can, but I would definitely recommend taking it with a bit of with a pinch of salt, really, because that kind of level of stuff with Dragon's Den, I find Dragon's Den so interesting and fascinating, and I think for young kids to be watching it, and older children as they're now going into secondary school and right through to secondary school, I think it's a really great program to watch anyway, because it's got enterprise, and it shows the difference between products and innovation, and how at any point in anyone's life people can come up with a great business idea. So it's a great program to watch, but I definitely wouldn't watch it with an idea that your presentation and pitching is going to need to be anywhere near like that level, because it certainly isn't. So definitely not necessary to watch it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, but I'm like you. I love watching it for lots of different reasons.
I I do. And I think, I mean, obviously we've had a few local people that are
Mhm.
part of it. So Sarah, her business is just a few doors down from where I'm sat right now. And she's one of the biggest investors on Dragon's Den, and she's a local girl with a local business. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And there's some recently businesses pitched and been given investment. I think it was just last week that was.
Yeah, from around here. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
that was a vegan food thing, wasn't it? Superfood, yeah.
Yeah, so so definitely worth watching, but as you say, pinch of salt, because it's entertainment at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they're going into a lot of depth because people are putting in quite a lot of money for this, sometimes hundreds of thousands. So then really having to get into so much detail and prove so much. But in this instance, we're having fun with enterprise and we're enjoying it. And, you know, we've been happy about what we're kind of doing and no pressure at this stage. So, you know, we want to be making sure that it's still enjoyable for you. So at the judges stage, you want to be kind of telling your story in the main and just getting a few key points over. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they can show their product, I mean, showing a service might be slightly difficult, more difficult, but if they could show what their business is that a good idea to have something visual?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a picture of, you know, what yours is if you're going to be doing it virtually. If you are face to face, no harm in kind of showing it. Obviously, on the Real Dragon's Den, they do hand out to each of the judges, you know, something. So sometimes when it's hand cream, they're sat there giving it a little, you know, it does bring it to life a little bit. Like that. Obviously, it might be that if you're delivering a service, it's not as able to be shown. But say, for example, you were doing some gardening kind of clearing in the local community, there could be a picture of that and you could use that on your slides.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, it sort of brings it to life a little bit. Just the sort of the last question is, what if you run out of time? What if you don't? You know, that 5 minutes will go very quick. What happens if you haven't said everything you want by the time that the buzzer goes off?
Yeah, and this is really the key with keeping it very, very straightforward. If you keep it really straightforward in your mind when you're going in, so you should have in your mind, if your section is, say, the marketing, you might have 3 key things that you want to make sure that you're saying. And there might be other really interesting stuff that you want to expand upon of some real good success that you had by using TikTok or by, you know, and how you did that and how you created that content and videos, for example. So what I'd recommend is that when you're delivering your section, if you know the key 2 or 3 points are important to get out, I would get those out first and then do the expanding upon it. Less is definitely more with these things. If you got the questions at the end, which is what you should be doing, is questions at the end, that's the way that you can kind of be, you know, going further with into a lot more detail based on the judges' questions. So I'd leave a couple of minutes for questions at the end, but yeah, make sure you've got your key points out and make sure you practice. So all of the talks that I've delivered have all had a really strict time. So it's strictly been 10 minutes or it's strictly been 15 minutes. So I've known that I've categorically only had 8 minutes and then a couple of minutes for questions. So it's the practicing that's made me keep it in. Sometimes on some of these talks where I've really planned out what I was going to say and had the slides, and I've done the first couple of runs, and for a 10-minute talk, I've been at like 35 minutes on my practices without even realizing it. So the practicing was very helpful for me, and I hope it is for you too.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, they will get a countdown. What's useful is to sort of, if someone can give you a little bit of a visual countdown, so they will be given a countdown that might just say, you know, you've got a minute left or whatever, and then, you know, you've got to try and get
wrap it up a bit.
But your point about the questions at the end is very valid. You know, if you have forgotten something, somehow manage to squeeze it into answering one of the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. You could be answering a question about something to do with finance and drop in something to do with actually a point about marketing that you forgot. Whilst we're on it.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, Joanna. Some great hints and tips, and you know, very simple and straightforward, and some great questions as well. So all that's left really is to say a massive thank you to you and for putting all that time and effort into that presentation. The children will love listening to your stories and your hints and tips as well. And to you as the competitors, that's the final webinar finished. And hopefully you're busying yourselves away with your little businesses in school. And, do go back to the webinars. They're all on our YouTube channel, and have a look if you're struggling with anything or you can't remember something. And good luck to everyone. Use your business ambassadors to provide you with that external business support. And we look forward to seeing you on the 30th of June. Joanna will be joining me as well, so she'll be keen to see how your pictures go. And we'll see you all on the 30th of June. Goodbye and good luck.
Good luck, everyone.